Hello everyone and welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going to learn about time, and the topics that we will be covering are reading time with exact minutes using AM and PM, 24-hour clock, duration of time, calculating days, and the timeline. So before we get into the lesson, here is something to warm you up. Here are 3 clocks showing time. Let's see if you can guess what the time is. The first clock shows the hour hand on 2 and the minutes hand on 12. Can you guess the time? Yes, it's 2 o'clock. The next clock shows the hour hand on 10 and the minutes hand on 12, which is 10 o'clock. And the third watch shows the hour hand on 6 and the minutes hand on 12, which brings the time to 6 o'clock. Now, let's draw the hands on the following clocks. So, the set time is 2 o'clock. So, the hour hand would be pointing at 2 and the minutes hand at 12. For 5 o'clock, the hour hand points at 5 and the minute hand at 12. For 8 o'clock, the hour hand points at 8 and the minute hand at 12. For 11 o'clock, the hour hand points at 11 and the minute hand at 12. Now, let's fill the following blanks. Dash is the first day of the week. Monday is the first day of the week. Dash is the last day of the week. Sunday is the last day of the week. There are dash days in a year. There are 365 days in a year. There are dash days in a leap year. There are 366 days in a leap year. Let's start by learning how to read time. We have learned earlier that the minute hand takes 5 minutes to move from one number to another. But how do we read the time? Let's find out. So here is our clock. We can see that the hour's hand is pointing at 3 and the minute's hand is pointing at 12. So the time is 3 o'clock. Now, when the minute hand moves one number ahead, 5 minutes have passed. So the time is 5 minutes past 3. When the minute hand moves to the second number, we see that 5 more minutes have passed, which is 10 minutes in total. So the time now is 10 minutes past 3. Now the minute hand comes on 3. We see that a quarter of a time has passed, which is 15 minutes. So the time is 15 minutes past 3 or 3:15 or quarter past 3. When the minute hand moves to the next number, 20 minutes have passed. The time is 20 minutes past 3. At the next number, the time is 25 minutes past 3. When the minute hand comes on 6, we see that it has covered half the clock. We see that 30 minutes have passed. So the time now is 3:30 or 30 minutes past 3. At the next number, the time is 35 minutes past 3. At the next number, the time is 40 minutes past 3 or 3:40. When the minutes hand comes over 9, we see that it has completed 45 minutes. So the time is 45 minutes past 3 or 3:45 or quarter to 4. At the next number, 50 minutes have passed. So the time is 50 minutes past 3 or 3:50. At the next number, time is 3:55 since 55 minutes have passed. I hope you understood that. Let's test it out with an exercise. I'll help you with the first question. We now have to write down the time in 2 ways while seeing the clock. Here we can see that the hour hand is pointing at 2 and the minute hand is pointing at 12. So the time is 2 o'clock or 2:00. We now have to draw the hour and the minute hand on the clocks according to the given time. So here is the clock and the given time is 1:15. So the hour hand would point to 1 and the minute hand would point to 3. Reading the exact time. Now, in earlier classes, you have learned that when the minute hand moves from one number to the other, 5 minutes have passed. So we have learned to read time in the interval of 5 minutes. Now, let's learn how to read the exact time. Have a look at this clock. This clock shows every minute of the time. According to the hour and minute hand on this clock, the time is 7:48. Now I hope you understood that. Let's test that with an exercise. I'll help you with the first question. Have a look at this clock. When we see the hour hand and the minute hand, the time is 2:08. We now have to draw the hour and minute hands for these clocks given. The first question says 7:18. So the hour hand goes on 7 and the minute hand goes 3 points after 3, which makes the time 7:18. Using AM and PM. Now we know that when one clock completes one whole cycle, 12 hours have passed. A day has 24 hours. So the first 12 hours are the morning hours and the second 12 hours are the evening hours. The first 12 hours are denoted by AM, that is after 12 midnight to 12 noon, and the second 12 hours are denoted by PM, that is after 12 noon to 12 midnight. AM means ante meridian and PM means post meridian. Remember, we never say 12 AM or 12 PM. We say them as 12 midnight or 12 noon. I hope you understood that concept. Let's test it out with an exercise. I'll help you out with the first question. Now listen to the following statement and mention the time using AM or PM. Be careful to use the terms at 12. Now, if you wake up at 6 in the morning, that means you wake up at 6 AM. Now we need to write down the correct time. I'll help you with the first question. 2 hours before 2 AM. 2 hours before 2 AM is midnight. So the time would be 12 midnight. Now observe the given timings and write down what you do at that time. The first question is 4 AM. What do you do at 4 AM? The 24-hour clock. Now, here are two clocks. Both of them show the same time, but only one clock tells you whether it's day or night. The digital clock tells you that it is 10:30 at night because it uses the 24-hour clock. A 12-hour clock shows the same time twice a day, and we use AM or PM to tell whether it is day or night. So, in a 12-hour clock, we measure the day from 12 midnight to 12 noon to 12 midnight. But in a 24-hour clock, we measure the day from 0 hours to 12 hours to 24 hours. To get a better understanding of this, let's have a look at this chart. Here we have the 12 and the 24-hour clocks. In the 12-hour clock, the day begins at 12 midnight, while in the 24-hour clock, it begins at 0 hours. The time then is same in the morning till 12 noon, where in the 12-hour clock, we write it as 12 noon, but in the 24-hour clock, we write it as 12 hours. The 12-hour clock resets and the cycle continues from 1 to 12 again. But in a 24-hour clock, the next hour is 13 hours and it goes on till 23 hours with the midnight again being 0 hours. Now, I hope you understood that. Let's test it with an exercise. I'll help you with the first question. We now have to write the following times in the 24-hour clock format. The first question says 2 p.m. Now, 2 p.m. means 2 in the afternoon. So, in the 24-hour clock, that would be 14 hours. Now, for the next question, we need to write the time from the 24-hour clock format to the 12-hour clock format. The first question says 1 hours, which means it is after midnight. So, in the 12-hour clock system, that would be 1 a.m. Duration of time. So, let's calculate the hours between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. We can subtract directly if the time is during the same time of the day, which is AM and AM. So, 11 minus 9 is equal to 2. So, the time duration between 9 am and 11 am is 2 hours. Similarly, let's try and find the time duration between 7 pm and 10 pm. We can see that these two timings lie in the same time of the day, which is PM and PM. So we can subtract them directly. So 10 minus 7 is equal to 3. So the time duration between 7 pm and 10 pm is 3 hours. Now let's calculate the time duration between 10 am and 2 pm. Now, when we calculate time from AM to PM or PM to AM, we cannot subtract them directly because they lie at different points of time. So, we first have to convert them to the 24-hour clock. So, 10 am in the 24-hour clock is 10 and 2 pm in the 24-hour clock is 14 hours. So, on subtracting 14 and 10, we get 4. So, the time duration between 10 am and 2 pm is 4 hours. So, I hope you understood that. Let's test it with an exercise. I'll help you with the first question. For the first question, we have to find how many hours have passed between 2 am and 5 am. Now, since both these times are in am and am, we can directly subtract them. So, 5 minus 2 gives us 3. Hence, the time duration between 2 am and 5 am is 3 hours. For the next question, we have to tell what the time is. We have a hint given that tells us we just have to add the given minutes to the time. The first question is 10 minutes after 10:20 am. So, we just have to add the number of minutes to the time. Added to 10:20 gives us 10:30 am. For the next question, we have to find the time. Now, the hint says we simply have to subtract the given minutes from the time. The first question is 5 minutes before 4:20 am, which means we have to subtract 5 minutes from 4:20 am, which gives us 4:15 am. Calculating days. Now, we all know that each month has 30 or 31 days, except February, which has 28 days. And a year has 365 days, and a leap year has 366 days. Now, according to the given situation, we must include or not include the first and the last day while counting the number of days. Let me show you some examples. The first example is Radhika arrived at her cousin's house on 24th March and stayed there till 15 April. So how long did she stay there? Now, for this particular situation, we have to include the first and the last given days. So, we know that there are 31 days in March. Since Radhika was at the place on 24th, we include that day. Removing 23 days from 31 days, we get 8 days. April has 30 days in total. So, 30 minus 15 gives us 15. So, the total number of days are 15 plus 8, which is 23 days. So Radhika stayed at her cousin's place for 23 days. So I hope you understood that. Let's test it with an exercise. I'll help you with the first question. We now have to find the number of days between 12th January and 2nd February. We have to include these two dates. So we know that there are 31 days in January. We will subtract 11 days from 31 days. We get 20 days and 2 days in February. The total number of days between 12th January and 2nd February are 22 days. Now let's solve some word problems. Arushi went for a walk at 7:20 in the morning. She walked for a total time of 50 minutes. So what time did she come back home? It's simple. We just have to add the minutes to the given time. So 7:20 plus 50 minutes, which gives us the time as 8:10 a.m. The timeline. The timeline helps you place events in the order that they happen. Let's have a look at some timelines. Here is a timeline that shows a week. The timeline of the week is divided into 7 parts, each for 1 day. We can now say what happened on which day very easily. For example, there was a music class on Monday, a party on Wednesday. There was swimming class on Friday, and there was a cricket match on Sunday. Now let's look at the timeline for a day. This timeline is divided into 24 parts, each for every hour of the day. We can now say what happened during the day very easily. For example, we woke up at 6 a.m., went to school at 8 a.m. At 3 p.m., we came back from school. We had our dinner at 8 p.m. and went to bed at 9 p.m. Now, let's make a timeline using years. Let's use the following example as a question. In this picture, you can see that there is information about World Chess Champion Vishwanath Anand. The information is mixed up. So let's plot a timeline according to the years with Vishwanath Anand's age with the time and the event. Vishwanath Anand was born in Chennai in 1969. The next event would be when he won the National Junior Chess Championship title in 1984. Next, in 1986, he won the Senior National Chess Championship. In 1987, he became the first Asian to win the World Junior Chess Championship. In 1988, he received the Padma Shri. In 1989, he won the National Sub-Junior Championship. In 1997, he played 6 computers simultaneously and won. In 2000, he won the World Chess Championship. And in 2007, he won the World Chess Championship for the second time. Now, I hope you understood that. Try and do the next question yourself. So let's go through the summary of today's lesson. Today, we learnt about reading time, reading the exact time with minutes, using AM and PM, the 24-hour clock, duration of time, calculating days, and the timeline.